Diabetes vent. My blood sugar's been out of control for over a year. I've been going back and forth about the best way to address it. Welp, my doctor, who originally offered me the choice between long-acting insulin and Trulicity, is now pushing Trulicity because it can cause weight loss. Roll eyes. She's also shut down my ability to send her messages through the online system and has said we will discuss it at follow-up on the 24th. So I guess my blood sugar just gets to be dangerously out of control until then. Or I can try this medicine that no one has bothered to tell me how or when to take, or whether it is safe to take with my current meds. I'm in tears, guys, and please don't tell me to find another doctor. I waited 7 months to get in with this doctor because she's widely considered the best in town. Rabbit Hole replied, "She's widely considered the best in town, and yet we are going to blatantly ignore her and challenge her to this degree. What a waste of everyone's time." Dominub added, "Best in town, but didn't even bother to tell her when and how to take the meds?" Sensei piled on, "No way did she make it out of the office and pharmacy without knowing when, how to take her medicine. The dosing schedule is half the order, and it is written on the bottle. Zeope is lying and feigning ignorance as an excuse to ignore their prescription. We see it all the time in healthcare." Stellar Blender added even more. "The medications she's talking about are injections, not oral scripts. There is no way a doctor sends you home with an injection without making sure you know how to administer it." Saved up for a trip through Europe. Now I really wish I hadn't done it. I thought my city was bad, with its catering to the thin crowd. My God, the commercials, the billboards, the clothes. I saw many stores where they didn't carry anything above a size 10. Stores, plural, in every country I was in. Seat sizes. I had planned in beach days in Italy and France, and it was so bad. I wore my two-piece in Italy, and I got so many dirty looks. Kids laughing, people pulling faces, vendors refusing to talk to me, some young men telling me, "No one wants to see that." Even those who didn't get mean just stared like they had never seen a fat body before. I felt like an animal in a zoo. I was so disheartened. I put on a full bathing suit in France, and it was the same anyway. Still haven't fully recovered from that one. I did Berlin and Munich, and here people didn't say anything, but I still got the dirty looks, as if I was in the way. Asking for refills also went very badly. I saw the most funny sad thing in Munich though. The tram had some seats that I could have easily fit in, but they put a pole in front of it. A pole from floor to ceiling, with a button to open the door, right in front of the seat, essentially cutting off a quarter of it. What made the big seats smaller than the rest of the seats? Whatever is this? Prague wasn't exactly welcoming either, or Vienna. All in all, that trip was not everything I hoped it would be. I did try to bring up some of these issues when I talked to locals. Whenever they brought it up, people just looked at me weirdly. Almost none knew that the movements like healthy at every size or body positivity or fat acceptance exist. How the F do fat people in Europe manage their lives? Get active over there. People need it. OCR Amazon replied, "This post is where rich entitlement and fat entitlement collide." There's no such thing as extra weight. You can need extra sleep. You can be an extra in a play. It can be extra hot or extra cold outside. But you can't have extra weight on your body. Extra weight is just not a thing. It's a phrase diet culture uses to pathologize bodies, and it needs to be removed from our vocabulary. Mom of One replied, "This is extra wrong." Asserting that being healthy is something we should all individually strive for ignores a multitude of barriers including class, disability, geography, for example food deserts, and war. Whether or not someone is pursuing healthiness is not grounds to determine their worth. Anti-Apocalypse replied, "I hate to break it to you, but people who are ensconced in war do not care about HAES or your spoiled bourgeois but ultranationalist crit theory inflected views on healthism." Someone in one of my mental health groups just posted about needing support while recovering from weight loss surgery, since there were complications. Shocking! She literally stated that she would pay people to come spend time with her, which was heartbreaking, despite things not going well. When I mentioned that I would totally come spend time, but that weight loss surgery was triggering for me, so I wouldn't want to chat about that too much, she told me not to bother coming by. Imagine still being pro something that is killing you, like the girls in a hospital begging people to come by. She's so lonely, and the fact that I'm not going to congratulate her on the butchery was too much. I just can't. It's all overt brainwashing. Astentia replied, Imagine being pro something that is killing you. Yeah. Imagine that. When I got home from my doctor, my wee son asked if I was okay. I said yes, but I probably should eat better and lose a few pounds. My son said, Excuse me one moment, turned around, got on his knees and said, Dear God, don't let me find the person who told my beautiful angel mother to lose weight. I'll kill him. Amen. Then he turned back to me and said, So who told you to lose weight? My sons are crazy over me. Ancient Matter replied, A man, rude, walked up to my baby the other day and yelled, Hey baby, if you're so effing cool, why don't you write the great American novel then, you dumb baby? And you'll never believe this, but the little baby child opened his mouth and said the whole text of The Great Gatsby. After finishing crying, he stood up and said, I love God so much and children as well. And he went to the church and was baptized. God is great. Share this with your friends. 9 out of 10 people will not share this. Keep scrolling for the devil. Amen. Yizzy Sizzin approaching replied, That man's name? Einstein. And a little common sense. This is true. As soon as my 83-year-old mom lost weight, also known as waist, all of her diseases completely disappeared. She lost waist. This means that being overweight, thick, fat, obese, BBW is nothing but a breeding ground for diseases. Weight loss is really waist loss. The weight is being measured. But it's accumulated waste, that's the weight. Lose the waist and lose the weight. Fruit, ERB, greens, eating clean. This year, largely thanks to a lot of the support shown here, I decided that I needed to do things differently instead of setting myself up for failure and hating myself more. So I decided to focus on health, strength, and mobility instead of weight. I enlisted a trainer and got gym membership, and have been going every day, and so far it's working. I'm not having the same pains in my knees and shoulders that I did. I'm more active and sleeping better. I even danced last night. I don't dance. I'm feeling less clumsy, which is nice. I've always been so awkward. But, while I haven't been focused on weight loss, it does seem to be happening. And I have some really complicated feelings about it. This isn't supposed to be about my weight, and yet, here it is showing up again, because that number is coming down. And people are starting to notice and encourage it, and I'm hating it. I hate that I'm suddenly more acceptable to them because I'm doing something for my health, and losing weight just happens to be a side effect. I want the strength and mobility, but I don't want to feel like I'm betraying anyone by giving in to societal pressure to lose weight. Because this isn't about that. It's about feeling stronger and healthier, whatever size I happen to be. Virtual Spread replied, So both intentional and unintentional weight loss are bad now? Antipocalypse added, For people who claim to be giving up on being hypervigilant about their weight, they sure are hypervigilant about their weight. Eating less doesn't make you a funnier, cooler, prettier, smarter, stronger, more likable, or worthy person. It does give you less energy to show off how you already are all those things. And it makes you feel more obsessed and out of control around food. Cranky with the keyboard replied, Know what makes you tired? Binging. Swayze added, And being obese. To be clear, I'm not here to shame anyone for trying to lose weight. I'm here to shed light on the fact that trying to lose weight may be harming you, and that if it's not working, it's absolutely not your fault. The culture is to blame, not you. The enigma of Nolan replied, Must be nice to be able to spew this garbage, and, from her picture, not suffer any of the consequences of obesity. You probably can't tell from the picture, but she was a thin young woman. Someone made a little disinformational graphic. If we held our dogs to the same ridiculous standards we hold humans to, Fiona the fitness poodle eats 2 cans of kibble per day, goes on a 20-minute walk every morning and night, sleeps most of the day. Hannah the hopeful hound eats 2 cups of kibble per day, goes on a 20-minute walk every morning and night, sleeps most of the day, so the same. But Hannah is jealous of the thin poodle. Seems silly. Yeah, denying the fact of body diversity is silly. It's real in our pets and it's real in humans. There's no magic weight or body size that we're all supposed to be at. Humans come in all different shapes and sizes, just like our pups. Health does not have a look. Stop shaming fat bodies for being fat. Vital musician. Do they actually believe that a shredded person has the same habits as a morbidly obese person? I legitimately wonder if they can possibly believe this. They might. Virtual Spread added, of course they do. I used to believe that I was just big-boned. The classic. And naturally heavier than others. After all, I was pretty athletic, muscular even, and my diet was balanced and healthy, and I was so much healthier than those twigs. Of course, this wasn't true at all. I was sedentary, ate way too much, and nothing but unhealthy junk, and already had health problems in my late 20s. Delusion is a powerful thing. Thin privilege is the ability to believe that it's possible to support a clothing company that doesn't make anything you can wear. One of the most mystifying, snippy responses I get when I talk about any given company's lack of inclusive sizing is, well, you should support blank so they can expand their sizing. How on earth am I supposed to support a company that won't take my money? What does this even mean? Is the problem that I'm criticizing a company that serves you and that you like? Does support mean no criticism ever? If your goal is to get me to shut up, just say so. Benjo replied, nobody has ever said this to anyone. They were just sitting around trying to think of a thin privilege is meme, and this is the stupid crap they came up with. Today I had a moment where I was eating lunch in my car on the way home from the vet. I got a large fry and double cheeseburger. Usually I eat it all, and I'm roughed after, but that feeling of fullness is comforting and tells me if I don't eat again right away I'll be okay. I don't have to worry about being hungry again for the time being. But today I ate the fries. My favorite food, so Avi always eat them first. And I realized I was sitting at full. I could definitely eat more and reach that stuffed feeling, but honestly I was okay if I stopped then. But then kicked in my voice telling me I hadn't eaten any protein. And I need protein, and you still have to eat the burger because of that. And another voice told me that we don't waste food, so there's no skimping or leaving food behind. And then there was the voice that just wanted me to eat the burger because I knew it would taste good and I'd like it. So many conflicting voices. So I started eating the burger, and I stopped and I thought about why I was eating it. Was I eating it because I genuinely wanted it, regardless of how full I was, and just that I wanted to eat it, intuitive eating? Or was it because my eating disorder was messing with me and winning? Honestly, I couldn't answer that question. I didn't know why I was eating it, and so I finished it. And that's okay. I sat and thought about it. I tried to figure out an answer, and today that answer didn't come. But still I ate it, and I was full and stuffed. And I got hungry later, and I ate again. There are no mess-ups with intuitive eating, just learning experiences. And maybe next time I'll order less fries if I want to eat the burger and not be overly full. Or maybe not. We'll see what my body wants when the time comes. There are so many diet rules piling up inside my head today, and I tried to break them apart one by one, but it's still frustrating that they show up at all. I wish I was free to eat what I want, when I want, without all the rules and the food policing piling up and spewing doctrines. Here's to hoping that our eating disorder voices get quieter, and our healthy voices get stronger. Realistic Bobcat added some more information. She's somewhere around 300 to 400 pounds. She always talks about herself as a fat warrior, and I don't understand it. She can barely walk from all the weight, but insists that any form of diet, which includes stopping eating when full, is her eating disorder at work. It's quite sad to see. She'll post stuff like this often, where it was a victory to force herself to eat an extra helping of beef and broccoli, because she needs the veggies, or how she was tired at 9 p.m., but forced herself to go to Dairy Queen and get a large blizzard because skipping snacks is eating disorder behavior. Marvel Girl replied, so she forced herself to get out of bed to get ice cream because she thinks she needs it? That's serious mental illness. I hope she gets help. While watching a video on My Thoughts May Offend You, I found a comment I really liked. Something that drives me crazy, seriously. Saying I want to eat better and exercise more to lose some weight, and people bigger than me saying, if you think you're fat, what do you think of me? And telling me I don't need to lose weight in an offended tone. I am overweight, and it suddenly makes me awkward. because they made it into what is my thought on them. Being small fat isn't healthy either. Coming from, I guess, what's considered small fat? I never heard that before your channel. Comments under a scale smash photo. Wouldn't donating the scale be a more positive approach? So it can spread diet culture somewhere else? Nah. Pottery workshops and art schools always use them for materials. If you have spare scales, you're welcome to donate them anywhere you like. Also, there are stacks and stacks of scales at thrift stores for the taking. There won't be a lack of almost free scales for alternate uses anytime soon. Also, this is a pretty big derail, so let's wrap it up. Glitter Rope responded to the whole scale smashing thing. You're shooting the messenger for doing their sole duty of telling you how much you weigh when you ask it, by stepping on it. Imagine me throwing away my phone because it tells me I have $2 in the bank when I open up my bank app and log in. Fat people generally don't get osteoporosis because our size functions in the same way as the weightlifting that people who are in danger of losing bone density are supposed to do. And yet, no one is telling thin people to gain weight to prevent osteoporosis. Anani Mokoso replied, no. The latest epidemiological and clinical studies have shown that a high level of fat mass might be a risk factor for osteoporosis and fragility fractures. And now we're into the ragen chastain section. But what about the obesity epidemic? It's not a real thing. Fat people existing does not qualify as an epidemic. It is a state-sponsored, highly profitable fat phobia. Thanks for asking. The obesity epidemic is made up. People are also taller than they used to be on average, but the government is not using tall people's tax dollars to fund a war on tallness. Our average body temperature is dropping 0.05 degrees per decade, but there's no war on coldness. There's nothing wrong with being fat, and after billions of dollars spent and diets prescribed, fat people just keep on existing, considering that most diets end with people gaining back more weight than they lost. What those who are in such a hurry to prevent larger people might want to try is wage a war on dieting. Regardless, fat people have the right to live without shame, stigma, bullying, oppression, and it doesn't matter why we're fat, what being fat is, or is not correlated with, or if we could be thinner. The rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are not and should not be size or health dependent. Anti-Apocalypse replied, well, in a sense she's right. The WHO now calls obesity a global pandemic. Some more ragen for you. Calories in, calories out is a vast oversimplification. The human body is more complicated than a lawnmower. Miss Banners replied, or maybe, just maybe, you can put the right amount of gas into the tank instead of pouring and pouring beyond the tank's capacity and watching the gas spill all over your lawnmower and wrecking it. How come smokers and drinkers aren't shamed? Dude, I constantly see people pooping on smokers and calling them disgusting, addicts, etc., and talking about how horrible secondhand smoke is. I also see tons of people talking about drinking culture and how dangerous it is, especially with teens drinking and driving, alcoholism, etc. Yeah, but I effing see people do that way more to fat people, alright, especially in casual settings. Like, yeah, when stuff's serious and we're talking about drinking and driving, I get that drinkers are shamed. Drinking and driving is way more dangerous than being fat, by the way. But I'm just saying in school and stuff, the kids who drank at parties were the popular ones and were seen as so cool. I mean, have you ever effing watched a teen movie? Meanwhile, the fat kids are bullied relentlessly and told they're ugly and nobody will ever love them. Effing happened to me. Don't try and say that stuff doesn't happen. Nobody calls someone a drinker or smoker as an insult like they do with fat. Haha, I'd be walking down the halls and get some a-hole kid calling me fatty. I never once heard smoker or drinker shout at a kid in the hallways. Count how many effing times you see the drinking get treated as fun or normal, like that 2 shots of vodka vine, or memes on Facebook of doctor only said 1 glass a day, insert effing huge glass of wine, or how you can turn the TV on to The View or whatever and see women drinking at 8 in the morning, or even how the word lit is generally a positive one, or how drinking is seen as so cool kids are making fake IDs and asking older people to buy alcohol for them, or how drinking is generally seen as a fun party activity in too many effing instances in movies and media and real life stuff. I've seen to even effing name basically people think getting super effing drunk is a real good time, but people cry about getting fat. Effing think about that maybe. Smoking isn't nearly as glorified as it used to be, I'll admit, but still I constantly see effing indie aesthetic pictures of dudes smoking without a single comment about how disgusting and unhealthy it is, whereas the majority of pictures of fat people are flooded with hateful comments. It's almost as if people don't care about health and just think fat people are icky. Not to mention on a medical level, I've never heard of a drinker or smoker be dismissed like I've been told to lose weight as if it would cure my effing genetic condition that's built into my effing DNA. Not to mention being fat doesn't inherently equal being unhealthy as opposed to drinking and smoking, which are horrible for you. Sorry if I sound hostile, it's because I am, since I've been getting pooped on nearly my whole GD life for being fat, and it kind of pisses me off that some effing people crawl out from under the rock acting like highly glorified stuff, like drinking gets as bad as effing rep in the social situations and in media as being fat. By the way, I read it like that because that person did not use any punctuation at all. They apparently don't know that commas, periods, capitals exist. Mall Booty Cutie replied, OMG, I can't with this. I used to smoke. Guess what the doctors always told me? Stop smoking or it will kill you. Every time, without fail. My alcoholic uncle was ultimately forced into rehab, or he would go to prison. He has 10 years sober come October. Everyone has heard millions of stories of how families were torn apart. How death and devastation was brought into the lives of family and friends of smokers and drinkers. Car accidents, cancer, house fires, liver failure, heart attacks, strokes, suffering. It's all out there. The comparison is accurate. Smokers don't listen, alcoholics don't listen, and the obese don't listen. Because everyone thinks it's BS and that it cannot happen or it doesn't apply to them. Everyone thinks as individuals that their situation isn't as bad as someone else's because they don't smoke as much as their grandparents who lived to 90, or don't drink as often as the neighbor, or aren't as heavy as their coworker who has the real problem. It's all BS. Over in r/science, we learned that 40% of US adults are now obese. Oh no, replied. General practice physician in the US here. I was mentally prepared to see lots of elevated weight, waistline, blood sugar, blood pressure, and cholesterol, together called metabolic syndrome. What I was not prepared for, and I find truly disturbing, is how common non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NASH, has become in this country. I'd say at least half of my obese patients had the profile of elevated liver enzymes typical of NASH when I first tested them. Even worse, at least 20 to 25% of non-obese, but not optimally healthy adults I've tested have this lab pattern also. Liver damage takes a real toll on quality of life and life expectancy, and really curtails the options for meds, since most medicines are processed by the liver. Stay in shape and lay off the fast food, fellow Americans, even if you're not fat. Blaze SCH replied, in Mexico we have kind of the same issue, and that has been causing us a lot of problems. For example, our health system spends a lot of money trying to cover all the diabetes, high arterial pressure, high cholesterol, etc. However, the biggest problem is that we, and for what I know of the US, is that we have a culture of fixing our health and not preventing disease. Only 40% of Mexicans exercise, and the availability of health food is almost non-existent. We have kind of adopted the American diet with fast food, but also have our own, very delicious, traditional high-fat and carbohydrates food. I'm looking at you, tamales. I mean, 1/5 of you is equal in kilocalories to a slice of bread. From Life Pro Tips. True self-care is not bubble baths and chocolate cake. It is making the choice to build a life that you don't need to regularly escape from. And another, the first step to fighting addiction is to find out what exactly you are distracting yourself from.